whole world enjoy prosperity, happiness, and peace. Be blessed by the divine. Good morning to every one of you. Um, Sorry that actually I'm inside my car because we have the last session for vision students. Around 55 are there. So some classes are going on. Kumarasan sir, I think the audio is clear, right?
Yeah, clear, sir. Clear, very clear. I think he's doing, Mehtaji will do the presentation, right?
Yeah, sure.
No problems. Perfect.
Good. Right. The mind is so beautiful if we can smile with a bliss. But in reality, we are not able to smile even like a small baby. The mind looks very beautiful if there is no pain given to others. But there are people who always gives pain even if they talk for 5 minutes. Buddha says, your mind is everything. Your life totally depends on your mind. There are other scholars, they say that the God might have given you no money to no wealth to you, but the God has given consciousness or intellect, which is common to everybody, and that is the main capital for your life. Use that intelligence to progress in our life. There is one more scholar who says that life is nothing but a rock. Use your intellect to script, means to doing the scripture. So you make it as a beautiful divine worshipping statue. What is your problem when you have the intellect with you? So many scholars have talked about mind as well as intellect as well as consciousness. And one more scholar says, love is nothing but the result of mind. Intellect is coming from brain, but mind is the most powerful, and that is what is required for the entire world. So we have heard a lot about mind, intellect, consciousness. But in reality, or in day-to-day situations, we have an issue. Or we are finding it difficult to use this knowledge in our day-to-day life. A normal wife calls her husband who is in the office, and she starts the conversation like this. I called you 4 times. You didn't take the call. What happened? Then the husband answers saying that, oh, I was in a meeting so far. Just now I'm relaxed. I'm relieved now because the meeting is over, and don't spoil my happiness. Okay, I'm not going to talk about that. Okay, husband says, super. Then why you called? What is the reason for your call? Now wife says, and today is my birthday, you know that. I already told you, you take half day leave and come home in the afternoon. And can't you do this at least for me, and today being my birthday? Now the husband says, I didn't get the leave. Then wife says, don't tell you didn't get the leave. First, you didn't ask for a leave. So you didn't ask or you didn't get it. Be clear, be specific. Anyway, then he immediately says, as if you have a CCTV and you are watching me, what I am doing it, how can you conclude that I didn't ask permission from my boss? Don't you have sense? Don't you have intellect? Don't you have consciousness? How can you conclude like that without seeing or without knowing the truth? So the conversation goes like that. Now, on day-to-day life, where is the problem in this conversation? Is it that the mind of the lady or the male is a problem, or intellect is a problem, or really consciousness is a problem for the entire conversation, which was not very pleasant or smooth at both ends? Where exactly the problem? What exactly we need to focus on to progress in our life? That is today's topic. We would like to have a very clear understanding about mind, consciousness, intellect, or and whether it is same or different, I don't know. We need to discuss it, and we need to come to a clear-cut understanding about these 3. Before I jump to the main discussion about mind, what are we going to discuss? First, we will discuss about mind, then we will discuss about intellect, consciousness, one by one, and then what is most important for day-to-day life and what I need to change, where exactly I am doing mistake. For example, like this conversation. And that is what I'm just trying to understand and find out how can I use that knowledge to make my life blissful. So before I jump there, I just want your opinion on your chat box. What is most important and what is needed? Means mind is more important, or intellect is more important, or consciousness is more important? That is my question. Which is most important, which I need to work on it? Maharishi has given Manavada Kalai. This is art of culturing our mind. And on the other hand, he named it as Temple of Consciousness. So we hear both mind as well as consciousness, and we use intellect on our day-to-day activities. So what exactly is most important, which I need to go for it to make my life blissful? Yes, I'm seeing the comments. Consciousness is most important. Consciousness, okay. So mind is not important, or most important is consciousness, not mind. Okay, consciousness. Mind filled with consciousness. Wow, mind filled with consciousness. Okay, consciousness. Good, very good. So mainly consciousness. I'm getting consciousness. Okay, good. Now let's start by understanding one by one what is mind. First, let's start with mind. We all know about mind. We have discussed at length on many sessions about mind. I will just summarize the key points what we learned. Mind is nothing but the transformation of biomagnetism. We all have biomagnetic waves circulating throughout the body. When the biomagnetic wave passes through brain, mind functions as thoughts. When the same biomagnetic wave passes through every cell in our body, it functions as feelings. When I am talking to you, if a small ant goes on my feet, I am able to realize it though I am talking to you. So feeling is parallelly happening 24 hours. And how the feeling takes place? The biomagnetism, which is passing through every cell in the body, gets some change or disturbed because of external environment. I am able to either feel as pain or pleasure or peace or ecstasy or bliss. So these are the four different feelings. All feelings are observed. Mind is the instrument which senses, which feels, and which also thinks. So the function of mind is only two: thoughts and feelings. Feelings, there are four different types of feelings: pleasure, pain, peace, and bliss. So thoughts and feelings are the functions of mind. Now, how mind functions? Through biomagnetism. We all know that the wave concept, the theory of wave theory. That means every biomagnetic wave goes through five functions: clash, reflection, refraction, penetration, and interaction. So because of this wave theory, this biomagnetism, we are able to feel it, we are able to think. So all those are happening because of that. But at the same time, we also need to know one more point about mind, how it functions. They have beautiful servants. There are five beautiful servants. They are called senses. All senses, eye, nose, tongue, skin, ears, all these five senses are reporting to mind. Mind is the boss who is supposed to control all the senses. Senses are servants to the mind, and mind interacts with the external world through senses. If my eyesight is not working, I will not be able to see anything. So one door is closed. So I interact with the world through my five senses, and the five senses are reporting to mind, who is the boss for senses. Here is the first confusion. Those senses are reporting to mind. why senses are called jnanendriyas. You know what is jnanendriyas? Jnan plus endriya. Endriya means machines, instruments. Jnan means knowledge, intellect, or consciousness, buddhi. So now, as per the name of the senses, what name our ancestors have given to them, senses are reporting to mind, but senses are called as instruments of intellect. So here, whether it is reporting to mind or not reporting to mind, or it is reporting to only intellect as name, as it is given by our ancestors, jnanendriyas. But we all know that if mind is not functioning, even though I see it, I will not be able to do anything out of that. When my ant is on top of my toe, I am feeling it only because of my mind. We all know that when I am seeing somebody in the supermarket and somebody says, hello, sir, but I'm not, I said hello and he is not responding. Why he is not responding? His eyes are seeing, senses are seeing it. Senses are giving signal to the brain and the mind is busy on something else. So it is ignoring the signals of the senses and it is focused on some other work. So I am not able to see, though he talks to me, I am seeing it, but my intellect is not seeing it or my mind is not seeing it. There are two things actually here. Mind is focused on something. Mind is thinking about something. So I just ignore that person. When mind is busy on thinking something about my call or what my wife wanted to buy it, I'm thinking about that. So mind is not recognizing the eyes input, which says, hey, your friend is saying hello and you are just, what are you doing? So jnanendriyas. It says jnanendriyas, but mind is the boss for all the senses. So here is one confusion which we need to understand very clearly what is happening. In order to get clarified here, there is one more thing. Man is struggling between habit and wisdom, habit and knowledge, habit and intellect. Tomorrow I wanted to get up at 5 o'clock. My intellect says, no, at least from tomorrow, I need to do meditation. So please keep the alarm at 5 o'clock and let me do that. And mind is obeying that instruction. Mind has 10 servants, not only 5 senses, 5 endriyas, karmendriyas, which does the job, like hand, leg. So it does the job also. So mind instructs, keep the alarm at 5 o'clock. You need to get up at 4:45 and do the meditation at 5 o'clock. So I keep the alarm. When the alarm rings at 4:45 next day morning, the same mind says, no, let me sleep. Let me take rest today. Tomorrow I will get up early and I will do the meditation. The same mind switches. Now what happened here? Intellect instructed the mind to keep the alarm at 4:45, but unfortunately, the mind which does the good thing, it failed to do the same good thing after when that time comes in. So the second confusion here is mind is not able to follow what it decided 8 hours before. So something good wanted to do, mind only wanted to do the good things, and mind only doesn't do the good thing. And mind only recognize its mistake also, and mind only wanted to correct it also. So everything is mind here. Why mind is doing like that? What exactly is the problem? Because we all know the nature of mind is like a rainwater. When it rains after 1 year, the water follows the least resistive path. It follows the same road how the water went earlier because there is no obstruction there. Least resistive path. So similarly, mind also, every day I used to get up at 6 o'clock, and if I have to keep an alarm at 4:45, mind follows the easiest road, comfort zone, get up at 6 o'clock. Why 4:45 today? So the mind has a habit of following the least resistive path. It is called habit or addicted. So mind does that. And here is a confusion. The same mind wanted to correct it. The same mind doesn't do rightly also. So where is the problem? Problem is with the intellect or problem is with the mind only? Mind is not following the instruction. It followed the instruction to keep the alarm, but to get up the alarm, no. Mind is supposed to get up because mind does that work and it didn't do it. So that's the second part. Okay, now let's try to understand about consciousness. Let's start about intellect first, and then we will go to consciousness, because I have put the topic as 3. Intellect is nothing but buddhi. Okay, now what is intellect? If you see the dictionary Wikipedia, intellect means understanding something, and using the intellect, intellect is used to understand the truth, to understand the reality, and to get lot of information, so that use that information to solve your problem, or to progress in your life, or to understand the truth. So we need intellect to understand the truth, to solve a problem, or to progress in my life, what I should do. All that I have to use intellect. The life is nothing but the gap between birth and death, B and D. In between is C. C is a choice. What choice I made earlier, today my life is. I decided, I chose to be an engineer. I am an engineer today. So my entire life is depending upon the choice I make. The choice is nothing but my intellect. What decision I make now will decide my future, happiness or suffering. So when we talk about intelligence or intellect, it is to understand the reason for something happening, or understand the truth, or to solve a problem, or to progress in my life, what I should do. And we get this knowledge, we develop our intellectual skills by studying, by experiencing. So many ways are there, we develop our intellect. And also there are so many fields in intellect. I am a physics professor, so I know a lot about physics. Somebody is having intellect about medical, so he is medical person, or economical person. He is expert in economics. So there are different fields wherein we come to know so many things. And to develop my intellectual skills, language is important. So we use the language to improve my intellectual skills. Now, these are all about intellect. And Maharishi has defined intellect, or he uses the word consciousness. We need to understand why he uses the word consciousness and what is the difference between intellect and consciousness, which we will discuss it after 10 minutes. Now let's understand what he means. Let's assume for time being intellect is nothing but consciousness. Consciousness is another word for intellect. Now, Maharishi has defined consciousness in living things as 3 different parameters, 3 different dimensions, which is cognition, experience, discrimination. These 3 put together is consciousness in every living organism. So consciousness means the faculty of cognition, which is a perception of feelings, and experiencing either pleasure or pain or peace or bliss, experiencing, and discriminating whether it is positive or negative, good or bad, or pleasure or pain. So discriminating what is right and what is wrong, those things. So consciousness is defined by Maharishi as cognition, experience, and discrimination. And he also defined for human being, in addition to these 3 dimensions, there is a 4th dimension, which is special for human beings as a potential of, means as a parameter, as a dimension of consciousness, as self-realization. Self-realization is the 4th dimension of consciousness for human beings alone. Otherwise, the 3 are common for all living things. Now, further, if you see there in the consciousness, if it is a 1 sense plant, only touch sense, the consciousness works only to the physical body touching. It is able to feel the touch sense. Whereas a 2nd sense, worms, insects, flies, those are all, there are 2 senses which is working. So the consciousness is limited to these 2 areas of touch as well as taste. And then the 3rd is smell. And the 4th is hearing, seeing. And the 5th is hearing. So there are 5 senses. So we say that 1 sense plant, 2 sense, like that. So all these 5 senses, the intellect or consciousness is developed according to those sensual sense instruments. And human beings have sixth sense, or sixth level of intellect, which is called discriminative power. And, and it has a potential to realize where from I came, where I need to go, how I should go, and where I stand. All those origin, destination, and the path towards the destination, everything it is possible for him to find out. By discriminating one by one, then he can find the truth, he can solve any problem, and he can decide what I should do to achieve what I want in my life. If there is a smoke in the next building, if I have the sixth sense, I am able to think and discriminate. Oh, smoke. I am sure there is an accident there, fire accident there. Oh, why fire accident? Maybe due to the gas stove which is exploded, or maybe due to the leakage from electricity, or maybe somebody has put the fire inside the bedroom and the cot caught fire, and now the entire building is under fire. So smoke is coming there. So this is what the actual meaning of intellect or consciousness. Now, what is happening in this consciousness or intellect? What I am seeing it, I am able to go beyond what senses are giving as input, going beyond the senses to understand the truth in it. That is called consciousness or intellect. My eyes are seeing the smoke, but my intellect is able to assume it is because of fire accident, and the fire is maybe because of this or that, and we need to find out what it is by going inside and doing some research, and then you will know the truth. So that is what intellect is. So now we know what is intellect or consciousness, which is cognition, experience, discrimination, and self-realizing power for human beings. Now, this is the first definition of consciousness. Maharishi has defined consciousness. For inanimate object, he has defined as pattern, precision, regularity. For organic things, cognition, experience, and discrimination. Now, same Maharishi has given another definition for consciousness, which is order of everything everywhere. How Earth is rotating, making one rotation in 24 hours at 1,000 miles per hour speed, and it is also revolving around the sun and exactly the same speed, same path, no error in it, order of function in everything, everywhere. That is called consciousness. So he has given a definition of consciousness in living things as cognition, experience, discrimination, whereas another definition he has given it as order of function in everything, everywhere. Now there is another confusion, third confusion here. If order of function is consciousness, now when that lady called the husband and asking for, can't you take my call? This is fourth time I am calling. So this is order of function. So what the lady has done is because of her consciousness and order of function in everything, everywhere. So what she called is 100% perfect and right and no mistake in it. And the guy who ordered it, who replied it, saying that don't you have consciousness or don't you have a sense, he is also doing exactly the order of function in everything and everywhere, and the consciousness is working perfectly there. So the fellow, what he replied is also correct, and what the lady asked is also correct, and everything everywhere, order of function is done by consciousness. Because of some consciousness, it is working perfectly everywhere. What is happening around us is due to consciousness. So everything is correct. One person kills another person. Perfect. Order of function in everything and everywhere. So consciousness is working everywhere perfectly. So this is third confusion. Is it right or wrong? Obviously, we know that it is wrong. So I'm confusing. I'm trying to just confuse so that we get the clarity at the end of the session. So order of function in everything and everywhere. If this is the definition of consciousness, whatever we do, perfect. Everything is in perfect order. There is a mistake. So everybody does correctly. So we need to understand where is the problem here. Now you will know there is a difference between intellect and consciousness. Consciousness is order of function in everything, everywhere. So when my wife shouts at me, consciousness is perfect. But intellect is perfect or consciousness is perfect. So some difference is there between intellect and consciousness. because we say if somebody kills another person, it is not correct. We know that. But if consciousness is correct, order of function in everything and everywhere is perfect, then how come one person can kill another person? So, then the intellect is different. Something like that we may guess for that understanding. Let's see. Okay. Now, order of function in everything, everywhere is consciousness. Why I say that it is perfect? The wife is calling and shouting. It is perfect. Why I say it is consciousness? We can imagine, we can assume, yes, it is consciousness. Her consciousness is telling, shout this fellow. Okay, she's shouting it. But if we understand, Maharishi has given another poem in which he says that divine is consciousness. So consciousness is an inherent quality, inherent capability, ability of divine. So wherever consciousness, wherever divinity is there, consciousness is working there. And where is divinity? Divinity is there everywhere. Where is it? My wife also, me also. So when my wife is having divinity in her and divinity is consciousness, then what she shouts is correct. What somebody kills another person is correct, because divinity is there everywhere, and divinity is consciousness, and consciousness is order of function. So what the lady shouts is also 100% perfect. So where is wrong, right? So that was my third confusion. I said we need to understand. The first confusion is senses are reporting to mind, but the senses are named as jnanendriyas. So really, who is the culprit here? Senses are reporting to intellect or reporting to mind? Who is controlling? Who has the control of senses, mind or intellect? This is number one. Two, second confusion is the mind is the one which wanted to do the right thing, but mind is the same thing which does the mistake, and mind is the same thing which wanted to correct it also, but it keeps failing. So mind has a dual or multiple nature. Now, where is exactly intellect coming here? That is a second confusion. And the third confusion is, if consciousness is defined as cognition, experience, discrimination in living things, then order of function in everything and everywhere, where is this definition fits on day-to-day life with human beings or anything? So these are the three confusions which I have raised so far. And I just want to take 1 minute from all of you to think about these three confusions. And if anybody can give your opinion about those confusions, sir, this is wrong. You are saying here, but no. Your comments are welcome in the chat box. The first confusion is senses are reporting to mind, but it is named after intellect. It is jnanendriyas. Why? Where the mistake is? Mistake is with the mind, who is a boss for senses, or mind is not the boss for senses. Intellect is the boss, but we wrongly understood senses are reporting to mind. This is first question. Any comments? Any answer for all the three? Any question? The second is mind is wanted to do the right thing, but it is doing the mistake. Super. If real consciousness is there, all function properly. Senses are only input to the judge, jnanam. If the mind is addicted to habit, then the intellect is ineffective. Excellent. Mind revolves around the habitual reality. and takes easy, comfortable decision. So the culprit is mind. Okay. Mind cannot do as he wish because lack of willpower. Okay. Excellent. Mind is like a knife, intellect is its sharpness, consciousness is where how to use. Okay. Mind wants to do correct things, but not able to because of bad imprints, also to justify the order of function. So which is the problem? Mind is most important or intellect is more important? And okay, then let's go to the second question. Mind wanted to do the right thing, but it doesn't do the right thing. And the third is consciousness, order of function in everything, whereas cognition, experience, discrimination is another definition for consciousness in living beings. So where is the confusion? Means where is the what is right? Okay. Uh, when realization of consciousness is experienced, then mind, body, universe falls into place for one's journey to purpose of life. Great. Okay, fine. Now, let's go to some basics. And then I think most of your thought process is excellent, really excellent. You all have understood the core. I think maybe I only had made some confusion, but I think you will understand. I hope I will be able to make it a little more crystal clear. Okay, mind, intellect, consciousness. What is the difference between intellect and consciousness? Why somebody is killing another person when it is not correct, when consciousness is there everywhere as a divine quality? Okay, and what is the connection between mind and consciousness? All that we need to understand now. We all interact with the external world through our senses. We all know that. Somebody messaged in the WhatsApp saying that, oh my God, it looks like I had a heart attack and I'm on the way to hospital. They put a message in a group, college group or whatever. And somebody immediately responded, super, have a safe journey. Now, where is the problem? This fellow, his mind is not working or intellect is not working. We know what is not working. He didn't read it properly. He didn't apply his intellect or that situation. And he made a wrong comment as super, have a safe journey. This is number one, where the intellect is not working here or is a poor intellect. We know this example. Another example, it's a husband's birthday, and wife purchased a birthday card for 80 riyal with a beautiful music in which his voice is recorded there. And she has given the birthday card to her husband. Her husband looked at the card. He just looked around the card and found that 80 riyal sticker is there. The cost of the card as 80 Qatari riyal sticker is there. Oh my God, 80 riyal for this card. Oh, you wasted this card for 80 riyal. The husband reacts like this. Now, the wife with a very loving nature, she went to different shops to select this, and out of love and affection, she gives this card as a remembering this his birthday, and this poor fellow is telling that you wasted 80 riyal. Where is the problem here? It's a lack of intellect or lack of mind. Mind is the one which is feeling. Mind is the one which is thinking. And intellect is the one making choice, making decision. Now, in this situation, his mind is not working totally. The mind is not feeling her love. Instead, intellect is calculating. Oh, 80 reals he spent for this beautiful, not beautiful, one card, which is not even worth of 10 real. And so, for the wife, the card is so important because it is a symbol of her love on his birthday. Whereas for him, intellect leads the role and feeling is not at all there because he is not able to recognize her love. So here, mind is, for him, mind is required, but mind is not there. Mind is not functioning there, not able to understand the feelings. So the first example, intellect failed. Second example, mind failed. Now both are required then. Or maybe marriages are made in heaven. So because Valluvar has written a beautiful poem in Tamil which says that Anbu Maranam Udaitha, in which you can infer like that you should have love as well as you should have the morality or discipline in the life. Now that means normally it is understood as wife should pour love, husband should decide what is right and what is wrong. He should follow the morality or disciplined life. Now, if that is understanding is correct, that means the whole family will be a psychological, because one person is following logic, one person is following psycho, means the mental activity. And now if these two together to live, then it is a psychological issue because logic and psycho, two different aspects of life. So we need to then decide, no. Mind is also required. Intellect is also required. It is not either. Both are required at the time. And if you see today's science, 50 years before they said intellect is most important for one's success in life. IQ is very important. 40 years before they said, no. Intellect, even 20% is there, it is enough. Emotional quotient is very important. Emotional quotient is nothing but a mind function. Emotions. It is a function of mind, not intellect. So EQ is very important for one's success, not intellect, according to the scholars, according to a lot of research done. And since 10 years, now there is a new claim which says that compared to EQ, SQ is more important, spiritual quotient, and that decides somebody's success in life, how successful he is. So intellect is even 10%, 20% is there. He can be a prime minister, president of any country because he can hire intellect from the experts. He doesn't need to have it, according to this study I am saying, right? So IQ is very important. EQ is more important than IQ, and SQ is more important than EQ. So now where are we concluding now? Intellect, mind, or so-called consciousness, which we haven't touched at all. Consciousness, we know the definition, order of function in everything and everywhere. Cognition, experience, and discrimination. And if I have to confuse you more, feeling is a function of mind. Then why Maharishi has given the definition of cognition as the definition of consciousness? See, Maharishi doesn't give anything just like that. For everything, there is a reason, right? So anyway, I just want to now come out of all these confusions now. I just gave an example in which intellect is important. Another example where intellect has no role. He has to see the love of his wife through the card gifted on his birthday. If he applies his intellect to doing some calculation, logic fails here. It doesn't create pleasant situation, harmony there. So intellect is not required, love is required, mind is required. And the second example, maybe both are required. At one point, intellect is required. At another situation, mind is required. Maybe you have to apply both. No, sir. Both are always required. Maybe, I don't know. We need to have that clarity now. Now, let's start understanding about all these three concepts by going through Maharishi's poem. I have chosen around 6 or 7 poems. Each poem is making us crystal clear in our understanding between mind, intellect, and consciousness. And Mehtaji, can you share the first poem of my PowerPoint? I am so sorry and apologize to you because this PowerPoint, it is not a PowerPoint. It is just a copy paste of Maharishi's poem from his Tamil book and pasted there in the PowerPoint. And I did the presentation yesterday to Malaysia Sky Trust. I kept the topic as mind or intellect. Mind or consciousness, and to all of you I added intellect as to confuse more, because you can tolerate anything I talk, and you can tolerate to any extent the confusions I create, so that we all get into the clarity after that. So I will translate it now itself when I am trying to explain you. So don't worry, the poem is in Tamil, and you miss something in your understanding, not at all. Now, I think time is 10:15. We will spend another 10 minutes because we have the session at 10:30. So we will continue the session next week. No need to worry. Maybe you can keep that as your homework, whatever confusions I created. But with the poems so far, whatever we can understand, we will go through it. In this poem, the title itself is very clear. Mind is everything. So as we discussed, EQ is more important than IQ. Here is the answer. He says, mind is everything. All is mind. All. Mind is all. Maname ellam. Okay, in which the poem, the first 2 lines, what he says, mind, consciousness, divinity, all three are one and same. There is no difference, means all one and same. The first line says, mind, consciousness, divinity, all three are same. And with an apostrophe, it is there. The second line, it says, these three only, it will make us to understand the hidden objects. What are hidden objects? Mind we can't see, consciousness we can't see, divine also we can't see. So all these three are hidden objects. But all these three things expand to make us understand and clarity about the truth. That is what the second line says. Now, Mehtaji, can you click only the button? Yes. Now, the third line, he is talking about the difference between mind and consciousness. Okay. First he said mind, consciousness, divinity, all are same. And the third line says mind has a special quality of operating with limits as character. Mind always operates as limits. It has a limit. Now I am talking to you, so I am limiting you to me. And mind is always operating within some limits. And how it is operating within limits? With some character, some values, either good or bad, either truth or lie, either pain or pleasure. Means all these characters means arrogant or very peaceful guy, jolly guy, or no, he's a stressed person or very calm person. So all these characters is because of limit within which mind operates. That is the third line. And the fourth line he says, which is more important, you have to use your intellect. Here he uses the word intellect, not consciousness. He uses the word intellect here. You have to raise your intellect. Intellectual levels have to be increased to remove the negativity of mind, which is operating within limits. The mind has the nature of operating in its limits. Get out of the limit, throw away, remove those limits. Then the mind is infinite. In that case, all three are same. If the mind is operating within a limit, that limit is the barrier which is stopping, separating us from the consciousness and divinity. That separation is because of our ego. Now he also says in the 5th line and the 6th line, human being is the only species in this world have the capacity to look for the real truth, and that is the purpose of birth. So he says, ego is the one which is separating the mind from divinity, from consciousness. If ego is not there, mind, mind, consciousness, divinity, all three are same, no difference. And what to do for it? He also says in the last line, you have to practice your mind to make it a single point or expand. You have to compress your mind to a one focal point like a God particle, or expand it to the universe. By doing these two practices, you can remove the barrier between the limited operation functionality of mind from the divinity. I hope now you have got the clarity. Mind, consciousness, and divinity are same, but if mind operates within limits, then there is a barrier. The barrier is because of ego. The ego is removed, then everything is same. All are mind, all are consciousness, all are divine. No difference at all. This is the poem. And can you go to the next poem, Mehtaji? Now he says, what is the connection between mind and consciousness? Earlier he said all three are same, but mind is working within its limits. Then mind is separated. Now what is the connection between consciousness and divinity? Consciousness and mind. Before we jump to the definition of here, let us understand divine is consciousness. There is no difference between consciousness and divinity. Divinity, one of the ability of divine is consciousness. There are three abilities. There are four qualities of divinity which we have discussed at many things, and one is consciousness. So divine is consciousness. So consciousness means divine. Divine means it operates through its consciousness. That means in this world, in this universe, everything is in a perfect order. That is because of the consciousness in the divinity. And divinity is the space, and space is there everywhere. So the order of function is maintained perfectly. So that is called consciousness. But intellect is different from that. We will understand what exactly the difference between intellect and consciousness. Now in this poem, what he says, if you take the ocean and waves, ocean is the consciousness, wave is the mind. Ocean is a static, wave is a dynamic. And you can't separate wave from the ocean. When wave is coming out of ocean, and the wave has to settle down in ocean. So our mind is nothing but the functional state of consciousness. Consciousness is in static all the time. But when it starts functioning, it functions as mind in living organism. So mind is nothing but the functional state, dynamic state, active state of consciousness. It is same, but when consciousness starts functioning in a living thing or non-living thing, living thing, then it is called as mind. The name is different. It is consciousness, but it is functioning as mind, and it becomes different. It becomes separated only if ego comes in between. Otherwise, there is no barrier. So in this poem, he says here, ocean is a consciousness, and waves are the mind, the function of mind. And what he says that the wave has to settle down in ocean. The waves have to settle down in ocean. That means the mind has to settle down with the consciousness. And that is the purpose of birth. And that is the purpose of birth, is to make our mind become one with the divinity through intellectual stages. And last week's session was intellectual stages. Surya sir explained about 3 intellectual stages. And the last stage is perfection. Perfection means mind, divinity, consciousness, all 3 are same. And mind is becoming one with the divinity. And that is what is to be done. But as long as it is functioning, if it is functioning, operating within limits, then there is a barrier. There is a separation. All those wrong things are coming there. And that is what is explained in this poem. Sir, next one. Okay. Now, here, sir, go back to the previous slide for another 1 minute. Okay. Now, I used to give you the same example. If I have to take a taxi from Doha to Alcor, I take a taxi. Now, the taxi driver is the mind. Taxi is my physical body and the vehicle and the passenger, the soul. Or you can say my intellect. I want to go to Alcor. My intellect or consciousness or soul, it's all interconnected, right? I want to go to Alcor. So I am telling the taxi driver, go to Alcor. Now, who is most important? Driver is important, or taxi is important, or the passenger is important. The guy who is instructing it. For example, if the guy tells go to beach, but actually he's supposed to go to, he hired the taxi by saying that I want to go to Alcor, but after entering into the taxi, he says go to beach first. Okay, so he is wrong. So intellect is wrong here. There is a problem here. Or intellect is correct. It is telling that no, go to Alcor. Driver is telling, okay, sir. Or he can say, sorry, sir, I will not go to Alcor. I will go to only Dukan. He can tell it. Or he will not tell, but he will go to Dukan. If the passenger knows that, hey, I told you, Alcor, you are going to in the path of Dukan. Sorry, go towards north. Why are you going there? Now, and the still driver says, no. I know how to go there. You don't worry. You just sleep there. I will take you to Alcor. And he is driving to Dukan. Still is possible. Now, forget about the taxi is a vehicle. Of course, we all know that physical body is important. Now, the mind is important or intellect is important. That was a question we started with that, right? And we came to understand now mind is nothing but a functional state of consciousness. Consciousness is a passenger. He is a soul. He is the intellect, right? The minute difference we will understand now. So go to the next slide. Now here it says that, of course, everything is important, John, as you commented. Everything is important, but we are trying to see where exactly I make mistake in my life. Which is most important to correct it? My mind or intellect or consciousness? Where I am failing it? What is it which is causing our life to be miserable? That is where we are driving to, right? So in this poem, he says the consciousness has 3 stages. As I said earlier, the functional state of consciousness is mind. Now he says consciousness operates in 3 different ways. Number 1 is conscious mind, subconscious mind, superconscious mind. The conscious mind is communicating with the external world through senses. And that is the one which feels happy, pleasure, and pain. The second one is very important now in this poem. What is written is the subconscious mind is working based on the database inside the genetic center. Whatever imprints are there, the subconscious mind is operating. And the third one is you go beyond all this pleasure, happiness, the entire world, and you go beyond our soul, the spirit, life force itself. Then you reach the stage of divinity. That is the third stage, samadhi state, right? Go to the next slide, Medhaji. Now he says the same thing in a different poem, but he named it in 3 different ways. The consciousness is functioning as mind in living things, and it functions in 3 states. Conscious mind, it is also called buddhi. Here is you need to know the difference here. Conscious mind is nothing but buddhi, intellect, according to this poem. So the mind which is communicating with the external world is called buddhi, intellect, not consciousness. Consciousness is the superconscious mind. The consciousness functions in 3 different levels. When it is functioning in interacting with the external world, it is called buddhi. That is why when wife gives the birthday card, the intellect is telling, oh, you wasted 80 riyal, because he is communicating with the wife. And the second one is called subconscious mind. It is called siddha, sittam. And the third one is called ahamkaram, which is nothing but superconscious mind. And the The fourth one is samadhi state. You become divine. Divine oneness, consciousness, you become the state of samadhi. These are all the different stages of mind. Mind is nothing but the functional state of consciousness, right? I'm just keep repeatedly telling that because we need to know the difference between consciousness, mind, and intellect. Now, here, if we have to understand why conscious mind is called buddhi or intellect, or what exactly the difference between intellect and mind, sorry, intellect and consciousness. Okay, 10:29. Sir, Mehtaji sir, I think I will conclude with this and leaving this homework.
Okay, sir.
Whatever I explained so far, what is the difference between intellect and consciousness and mind? The exact difference between intellect and consciousness. Let's keep it like that. Intellect and consciousness. This is a homework question. And so I conclude here. I will finish the balance part on the coming Friday session. Okay. And any questions, anything so far, whatever we discussed, please. Any doubts?
வாழ்க வளமுடன் சார்.
Yes.
Sir, ஒரு புக்கையே you have made it short. So just now I completed my MSc first year, so it was very nice to hear it from you with examples in real life so that we understand. I have one small doubt, sir. So this, as you explained in the poem, the contracting the mind to one point and expanding it bigger than the universe. So that is what we do in meditations, right? Like Turyadida and Agni meditation. And we feel the biomagnetism or whatever, the life force, which through the spinal cord, and that is what we are focusing on different points. Am I right?
Sorry, tell me again.
So we, while doing the meditation from Mooladhara, we take that life force or biomagnetism or whatever, we feel that thing